Hello, good morning, my dear students. Welcome to our new lesson, the review of related literature. At the end of this video, you will be able to apply the different knowledge and principles in the review of related literature to the writing of your chapter 2, which is related literature and studies, and of course, your literature review article, which is one of the requirements in this subject. Okay, these are the topics which I would like to discuss to you. We have the meaning of related review and review of related literature and studies, value of related literature, guidelines in literature review search, sources of related literature, organizing related literature information, some formats in writing related literature, and of course, the tips in writing and reviewing and writing related literature. Okay, so you please watch this video from the very beginning until the end so that you will be able to get some tips on how you will make your review of related literature successful. All right, let's talk about the first topic, the meaning of literature review and review of related literature and studies. So, the related review, this is actually a detailed review of existing literature related to the topic or title of research or thesis or dissertation you are proposing. Okay? The review of related literature and studies. This is a section of your thesis or of your paper wherein this is considered as a comprehensive summary of information from related literature about a particular topic or research title or problem. And the reviews should enumerate, describe, summarize, objectively evaluate, and clarify previous research studies. Okay, I hope this very clear to you. Then let's talk about the value of related literature. So the very first one is it helps the researcher in conceptualizing his or her study. When you will read the related literature, you will be able to picture out your study because when you will read, you will be able to find information about how the problem came into being of that particular research, of course, how the literature review or review of related literature in that particular thesis or dissertation uh, is written, and of course the methodologies and of course the findings. Then the next, it will help you avoid the duplication on the work of others. So because you will be able to review the different works previously done, or shall we say written or conducted through your review, you will be able to avoid duplicating these materials. So parang ibig sabihin hindi ka nakakapangopya. Marunong kang umiwas, in short. Then it will help the researcher avoid the plagiarism. Very self-explanatory. Then it helps the researcher identify the gap of the study, meaning the weaknesses of the studies you reviewed, where the insufficiencies of the study comes in, and that is the one you are targeting in your study, because it's not just enough to look for an actual problem or a problem written in printed materials, and as such you will develop your research. But it is important that this perceived problem or actual problem you identified will be supported with the gap. Parang pag pinagsama mo itong problem, actual problem, at saka yung gap na nandyan sa iyong or based on your review, it's automatic that your thesis or research is relevant. Okay? Then it conveys to the reader the knowledge and ideas of the previous works about a particular topic. Meaning, the literature review information will provide the audience, the reader of your manuscript, what has been done in the past. So that is how simply as it is. All right. Next, guidelines in literature review search. The first one, I identify this literature must be relevant to the study. How relevant? The materials are related to the topic being investigated. Okay, the second, literature must be recent as possible. If possible, the related literature which will be used in this study are published or conducted in the last 5 years. But of course, we give allowance. We even extend until 10 years. And that is for studies. Now, if you are using literature or shall we say books, you need perhaps 10 or even 15 or even 20. We give allowance to 20, meaning to say, if you are writing your um, thesis today, this year, you will be counting 10 years backward or 15 years backward or 20 years backward, and all the literature and the literature published in this particular period can be used as or in your write-up. Then we have literature should be sufficient enough to discuss the different variables in this study. Yes, of course. There is a need for you to have plenty of related literature in order to sufficiently discuss the different variables of your study. Okay? So, you need to really consider these guidelines. All right, let's talk about the sources of related literature. We have the primary sources. These are the first-hand information. We have original documents. Number one, diaries, speeches, manuscripts, letters, interviews, records, eyewitness accounts, and autobiography. Then the next, we have empirical scholarly work. These research articles, which are published in different journals, clinical reports, case studies, of course, dissertations, and you can get dissertations from ProQuest. Okay, the last one is creative works, poetry, music, video, and photography. So these are considered as primary works. The second is secondary sources. These are taken from primary sources, meaning to say the informations which they take came from, of course, primary sources. We have publication, textbooks, magazine articles, book reviews, commentaries, encyclopedias, and almanacs. Okay? So these are the two sources of our review of related literature. Let's proceed now to the organizing of related literature information. Okay, I identified here three: chronological. This is based on period, or this is based on publication. For instance, when you will write your review on a particular topic, you need to consider those materials related which are published 2020, 19, 18, and backward. So chronological. Then the next is thematic or topical. Related literature information are discussed around a particular topic. So if you have this particular study, you discuss about the the topic, and of course, regardless of the period of publication. However, we need to consider about the recency of publication. Then we have methodological. Related literature information are organized, of course, according to the methods of research used in the studies you reviewed. All right, let's talk about some formats in writing review of related literature. We have format E. Um, we have chapter 2 is the chapter number, then the chapter heading, or shall we say section, uh, is labeled as review of related literature and studies. Then afterwards, you will introduce the chapter with which is or which may either be a single statement or a paragraph. Then that's the time now where after that you need to provide the sub section which is related literature. And in here, you are discussing you are using the topical or thematic um, way. You discuss the subject matter of the study, the categories, the types, the different variables of the study. Okay, then we have related studies. You use chronological based on time of publication. Then, of course, the last one is summary or synthesis. Now, in our format, we are using synthesis, but in other formats, sometimes they use or they have this summary as an independent subsection and then synthesis as another independent subsection. So, this is the format now that we are using, and we are hoping to change this format to IMRAD format. Please watch out. We will come to that. Okay, next is format B. Just the same, you have to write this chapter number, chapter 2. Then we have also review of related literature. Then provide introductory statement or paragraph of that particular or yeah of the chapter. Then what is unique is in the presentation of subsection, this statement of the problem are written and it is transformed, of course, into declarative sentence. Then afterwards, you discuss all about the variables which are included in the statement of the problem, considering some related literature and studies. Okay? So if you have two problems, you need to have two subsections because as what I told you a while ago, that you need to transform the statement of the problem into declarative form. And of course, we have also the synthesis. You need to provide synthesis, and this is actually the statement on or yeah the gap identified in the uh, related literature and studies. Okay, another is format C, evaluation, design, and framework. To tell you, my dear students, this is the format we used before using this new format. So the title of the section is evaluation, design, and framework, and of course you need to introduce the chapter. Then it will be followed with the first subsection, which is expected output and justifications. This section presents the output of the study, the description of the output, and of course the recommendations or the discussions about how this output will be used. Okay, then after expected output and justifications, we have also the theoretical framework. The theoretical framework is actually the discussion of the theory and of course the relatedness of the theory to your study. Now, when you discuss your theory, be sure that you know everything about the theory to include the proponent. Because there are some theories wherein originally there is one proponent, known proponent, but of course, as we go along our way, as time passes by, there is another brilliant person who improve the theory. So be sure that you know everything about the theory and you know how you will relate the theory in your uh, study. Okay. Then we have the conceptual framework. This is the total picture or the discussions on the total picture of your study. You draw the model, then discuss the model, and this is now your conceptual framework. And this all the theoretical framework and conceptual framework are anchored on the review of related literature. Then, of course, the next side heading after conceptual framework is the variables, their definitions, and importance to the study. This is actually the discussions of the variables stipulated in the specific problems uh, of the study. The discussions focus its emphasis about the nature, the types of variables, and findings or conclusions and even recommendations of the researcher in the study or studies reviewed. And of course, just to caution everyone, be sure that you should acknowledge the information, the ideas you used in your discussions of the variables uh, in your in chapter 2. Okay, then the next we have definition of terms. This is a subheading wherein the terms are defined under the context of the study. And the usual practice is the terms which are have special meaning to the study are defined under this section. It's not in the variables, their definitions and importance to the study. Okay, the next one is the same chapter 2. Then it's labeled as conceptual framework. This is the format uh, used in my master's degree program or thesis in my master's degree program. Okay, then just the same, you have to provide introductory statement or paragraph. Then, of course, the first subheading is review of related literature and studies. You need to classify the related literature, then the related studies, but in one section. Then we have also the conceptual framework. As what I've said, this is the discussion of the model, which is the total a diagram showing the total picture of the study. Then we have also the hypothesis is also presented in the conceptual framework. Then we have definition of terms, definition of uh, terms. By the way, this conceptual framework is not actually conceptual framework, but it's a theoretical framework. It's a theoretical framework because the heading is conceptual framework. So the in the side heading, it's not conceptual framework, but it's a theoretical framework. Then another is format E, chapter 2, review of related literature and studies. You need to provide introductory statement of the chapter. Then you will write the foreign literature, foreign studies, local literature, local studies. Then that's the time now wherein you will have to provide synthesis. But This is not anymore. I think this is not anymore used by colleges and universities because I think during our college days we we have seen this in the library. Okay. The last one, the last topic is the tips in reviewing and writing related literature. So the very first tip, read related literature as many as you can. If it would be possible for you to get information or related literature from more or less five continents, the better. The better. Then you will not anymore encountering problems relative to the sourcing out of the related literature because internet is always available. Kailangan nga lang mag-load tayo o magkaroon tayo ng wifi. Okay. The second, if possible for you to save the whole material in your desktop and later print, the better. Okay? So, if you were able to see or shall we say find a reference materials from the internet, download it and save it in your desktop or computer. Now, if you have this what we call Google Library and you were able to find these materials from the Google Scholar, you save it in your Google library. Then later you read it. Okay. Next, impossible if possible, ask permission or collaborate with other authors, particularly if you will be using instruments or their research article in your write-up. Simply, madali lang naman mag-chat, madali lang naman sumulat. And I am pretty sure that they will be giving you a permit to use. And so far as my experience is concerned, they respond immediately and they will be thankful that you are using their research and citing the research, I suppose. Okay. Next is paraphrase properly. When writing research, it's not copying from the internet and pasting in your paper or in your template. It's not good. It's not good. The level of plagiarism hit is high. And the idea of the author is destroyed when you copy, then replace some words, kunyari, sa'yo na. That is not a proper way of writing. Even if you will do text citation and reference citation, I think I am really sure that you will still be hit by plagiarism. So, mapla-plagiarize ka pa rin diyan. Okay? So, what you will do is read the materials, get the idea, transform the idea into your own words, then cite the sources of the information in your text. Author year lang naman ang madalas natin gamitin if we are using the American Psychological Association format or even the Harvard format, then write the complete citation in your reference section. Okay? Now, if you, as what I've said before, if you can find these materials from the internet, it would not be very hard for you, in the Google Scholar, I should say, it would not be very hard for you to do the reference citation because they have also recommendations. They have already their recommendations for citation of the materials in which can be found in the Google Scholar. Okay, then ito I already I mentioned it and paraphrase properly, but I also include as the next item, as the next step. Refrain from copying from the internet and pasting in your paper template. Ini-emphasize ko yan para at least hindi kayo magka-problema sa plagiarism. If you will publish your work, your thesis, or even dissertation, it's automatic that it will be submitted for plagiarism check. And if that would be the case, and if found that the percentage of plagiarism is high, your paper will not be published. So that's the essence. Okay. Next, we have also document properly your text. That's what I am talking about a while ago, that you need to document your text. You can use citation generator. Yung naririnig ba ninyo ang Zotero? Naririnig ba ninyo ang Mendeley? Mendeley is a citation generator of American Psychological Association format. In other words, if you use American Psychological Association format, and if you have this, I think this is an application or software in your desktop, it would be very easy for you to write your citation. Then we have also submit your manuscript for editing and plagiarism check. Um, Grammarly can edit your work, and of course, this plagiarism check is, I suppose, it's difficult for us to check the level of plagiarism if you have no software. Of course, during the early part of our um, subject discussions, I mentioned about several plagiarism checker. Ang isa diyan ay Turnitin. And I think I was able to use this plagiarism checker, ang tawag ay Turnitin, way back in the year 2015 and 16. So we were able to submit our papers or articles published now in the software. To tell you the truth, when I have still a little knowledge about plagiarism, the level of the plagiarism hit is very high doon sa mga research ko. Inabot niya ako ng 50. At that time, I have no knowledge about how to write properly. Then it's good if you will submit your work to editing and plagiarism check. Nalalaman mo kung ilan ang kinopya, nalalaman mo kung ilan ang mali. And I am pretty sure that your thesis proposal will be checked using an editing software, and it will be checked by a plagiarism checker software. So you paraphrase your work, not just copy and paste. This is not a good basis, copying and pasting. Okay? Kakasanayan natin yan kung pananatilihin natin iyan. And I have this rubrics in evaluating your manuscript. Hindi lamang iyan na tinanggap ang inyong literature review article ng organizing journal. I will still give my rating to your paper kapag iyan ay ipinablish na ninyo. Okay? And the last step is publish the output of your literature review as literature review paper or literature review article. As what I am doing now, and in the coming days, if ever I handle subjects, methods of research, and many other subjects. Actually, my minimum requirements is a published literature review article because you can hit two birds at the same time. Nag-aral ka na, natuto ka na, mayroon ka pang publication, and it will be of great help to you when you apply promotion at perhaps in your agency. Okay, so these are all about for this morning. Thank you very much. I hope you will watch this video. God bless you all, my dear students.